Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending upon where you're joining our webinar from today. My name is Tad Haas with Edison 365, and I'm excited to have your participation in this important topic. We're going to focus today on helping to uncover your innovators, really driving and helping with employee engagement. Some of the things that we'll talk about, such as what is the impact of employee engagement? Can the crowd really influence innovation? And assuming yes, why is this important? Couple of first logistics. You'll be able to use the GoToMeeting webinar to ask questions in your panel, and we have Soraka and or Aman online to help with that, and Lauren as well. So we'll try to get your questions live during the session if we can, and if I'm unable to get to them during the session, we'll certainly follow up post. With all of that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in. You should be able to see on my screen a title page for our webinar today about Uncover Your Innovators. Again, my name is Tad Haas with Edison 365, and you can reach me at the coordinates below. The agenda for today's session is really the welcomes and introductions, which we've done. I want to go through and discuss some of the challenges and examples of why employee engagement is so important, and in fact, why and how employee engagement can impact innovation, and why the two go hand in glove. We'll talk about some approaches for improvement and what we see as best practices through other enterprises today. And then we'll talk about leveraging your existing investments in current technology and how the Edison 365 solutions can add additional value to that, and indeed give you a process, the tools, and the end results you're looking for to assist in this active employee engagement. With that, again, please feel free to ask questions in the panel, and one of us will get back to you or we'll answer them live during the session. Many of us read the Wall Street Journal, and if you were like me, when I was in New York in December, I happened to pick up the paper from the hotel, and I noticed that there were there was a new article called The Best Run Companies in the United States and How They Got That Way. It's a terrific read if you haven't seen it, but it's particularly important for us during this topic of employee engagement, because while they used the Drucker Institute and the Wall Street Journal's measures, and there's a whole bunch of things here about how and why they measured and how they came to the results they were talking about, 2 of the 5 most important factors for an employee being well run have to do with employee engagement, people development, so if you're leading the HR team, this is pretty important, and innovation. Where are you spending your time, your money, your patents, your results, your creativity, and how are you engaging your people to assist in that innovation? The list of 250 is quite important, and if you go take a look at it, you'll be surprised the companies that are, well, you won't be surprised at the companies that are on top, but where they look and how they show up throughout. What is interesting is when you look at the difference between even the top 250 and the difference between people that do innovation well and the people that do employee engagement well. So that is to say that the best run companies are innovators, the best run companies spend time engaging their employees. And we'll spend the rest of our time certainly talking about that and why these things are important. We'll provide the link to that article at the end of today's session. So employee engagement, innovation, digital transformation, all of these kind of things are being talked about today on and on. But why are they important? Well, of course, it's obvious that we need to stay competitive. We need to improve our workplace. We either engage our employees or our competition does. Today in the job hiring market, keeping top talent is super important. And of course, transformations that we make through innovation, through better employees, provide better services, create new products, and even in down times or good times, helps to manage the operational costs. I found this quote from Jack Welch and found it quite interesting as it goes through and talks about if the rate of change on the outside exceeds the rate of change on the inside, the end is near. Now, why is that important? Well, if you think about this conversation of digital Darwinism and you think about it for a moment, you might take into account the fact that of the Fortune 500, 52% of those companies have merged, been acquired, or gone bankrupt in the last 18 years. 52%. These are some of the biggest and the best companies. So, how are you transitioning? How are you moving forward? Microsoft is number 3 on that list. And because Edison 365 is a big partner of Microsoft, we're certainly very happy to think about some of the things that Satya Nadella and the rest of his team are doing to engage their employees. If you haven't picked up the Hit Refresh button or book, it's a great thing to go through and talk about customer centricity, creating a low friction environment for collaboration, and bold leadership that creates the innovation that they're finding today, and really the renaissance and the profits that Microsoft is bringing to bear. So let's talk about Edison 365, just to give you a little bit more background here. We are, as a solution, a module of products that are built to accelerate business transformation, taking advantage of Office 365. Today, we're really going to focus about Edison 365 ideas because it's the point of entry for most employees. It's that way of solving some of the most common problems. But rest assured, Edison 365 business case and projects continue the value story throughout, all taking advantage of Office 365. We work with companies around the globe and help them deliver value, help them engage their employees, and help them innovate in a way that brings great products to market. And one of the ways that we do that is helping them unleash the power of change within their people. Now, this is an example of how a company called Exaro will actually, this is a mining company in South Africa, not a particularly high-tech company, but certainly observant in what's going on around in the world, having to deal with the environmental impacts, the working conditions of their employees, and engage their 7,000 employees to find what's next. They want to know how to go through and harness the ideas from their workforce. And so for Exaro, they were able to do that with the Edison 365 solution built on Office 365. Quickly, they were able to go through and set challenges, crowdsource ideas, prioritize and select the best, and then move forward. As you can see from the quote below, the integrated transparent platform across their company now gives everyone easy access. People have confidence in the system, and they're able to put great ideas in and know that somebody's going to look at their idea and hopefully take advantage of those and improve efficiencies, change business models, or bring new products to market. Before we dive in a little bit deeper, I want to talk about some of the transformational process. When we look at industry today, we see certainly this model of thinking strategically, coming up with great ideas for innovation, justifying the internal spend, delivering the outcomes through excellent projects, and measuring those values. It's really important to be able to go through and think in those terms. Today, whether you're the innovation office or you're the chief people officer, you want to be able to go through and engage with your employees in technology, in operations, and through project delivery. We'll go through and demonstrate now how you can tie strategy to great ideas, how you can select those and move them forward. What Edison will also help you do is drive those through a good business case process and ultimately through a great execution in Edison 365 projects if you happen to be doing that today. If we had more time, I'd take this as an interactive survey to ask how your organization currently innovates. Do you use a suggestion box? If you watch our explainer video, you might know that that's had its day. Are you using interactive surveys? Some companies are using hackathons or innovation theater or different idea events to go through and do that. Do you work with your project teams? Are you using email blasts to go through and get information out or solicit feedback? Maybe you've built something in SharePoint. There's all kinds of different ways you can do this today, but most of those have sort of had their day, or they need some additional plumbing to really create value. And that's what we'll show you today with Edison 365, how our solution set provides that. Most of them are unengaging. Certainly they're very unstructured. If you're a Microsoft customer using Yammer, it's great for getting feedback. It's a terrific way to engage. But how do you analyze that data? How do you choose which ideas to move forward? They're informal and ad hoc and don't give you an actionable set of things to do once you've collected these great ideas and engaged your employees and listened to your employees. Now, traditionally, there's two types of methods that companies or public institutions or nonprofits use to go through and innovate. And they do that either through a top-down challenge where the business says, we have a problem, help us, or we engage our employees anytime, anywhere, any day and say, give us your best ideas. Help us understand what should be in our funnel. What great ideas should we engage on? What business models should we change? What startups should we evaluate? What are the projects we execute? And what are the outcomes that we expect? And with Edison 365, we support both a top-down and a bottom-up approach. To dive a little deeper into Edison 365 ideas, it's important to know that the product is built directly on top of Edison 365. It takes minutes or hours to install, not days, weeks, months, or longer. It's fully secure in a cloud-based deployment and is designed in a responsive way that works both on a PC, on a Mac, or on a mobile device. So whether I'm using an iPhone, an Android phone, or a tablet, I'm able to go through and have a very engaging user experience when I start working with Edison 365 ideas. This is helpful, so as your teams are commuting or at lunch or in an informal meeting, they can jot down an idea quickly with Edison 365 so that your teams can evaluate those, organize them, triage them, and execute on them when the time is right. So let's dive into a demonstration. I don't see any specific questions that are coming up on the panel. One of the things that we've been asked before, is there any special requirements besides Office 365 to deploy Edison 365 ideas? And the answer is no. If you're already using Office today and you've got Office 365, you're ready to go. So let's go ahead and demonstrate that now. And we'll launch a browser. And you can see in the upper right-hand corner that I've logged in as me. That gives me my Active Directory sync, my rights, and all the different things that I want to do. Just as the rest of the Office 365 products, it's easy for me to follow or share information if I want to go through and update others and get them, invite them to the process. It's easy for me to do that. We're built right into the Office 365 world. So as you're taking advantage of OneNote or Teams for collaboration, when you actually want to progress an idea, these are great things to do. Whether I launch it on a mobile PC or whether I simply call up Edison 365 here, you'll start to see an engaging browser experience that lets us go through and take a look at the different types of things that are important for us today. And you can see in the beginning of the screen, we have a slider that helps us promote whatever challenges we have going on, help us engage with our customers or with our partners or with our employees, and then reward them through innovation awards or other public announcements and things like that. On the upper or on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see quick stats that tell us how many ideas have been submitted by our employees or the people we requested ideas from. And we can see some other information below, like the top 10 ideas. And this is an easy way for us to go through and see what's happening. You'll notice that these are built through a card interface, these cards happen to work particularly well in a mobile device or a mobile interface, and that's something to think about. So if I'm an employee and I've got this great idea, I have an epiphany I want to share with the team, I simply go through with my finger or my mouse and I click create an idea. At this point, I'll come into the title and I'll say new product or whatever it is I'm thinking about, and the software will go out and look to see if there's anything like it. It didn't find something that was like this new product, so now I'm going to go through and type a cool widget. And you're not here to watch me type, so I'm not going to go through and spend a lot of time on this, but we go through and put in the cost, the time estimates, any of the kind of verbiage that we want to put in here that we share with others, and you can simply type away in a Word-like experience. We can also choose which types of strategies or important categories of business this helps. Are we increasing revenue? Are we talking about staff satisfaction if we're in a healthcare or medical environment, whatever we're thinking about there? What kind of images would we like to share for this great idea? And we can upload our own or choose whichever we want. And this will give us a chance to go through and personalize this particular idea. We do support anonymous, and some people like that. Other people really want to focus on their employees and try not to do anonymous. So it's your choice in the way that you go through and do that, the audiences that you work with, the documents that you upload and share, and all of the things that you might do to get an idea started. It's simple, it's fast, it's quick. As an employee, then I'll know I've submitted my idea. It will show up, or as the ideas are, on my page. And I'll be able to go in and drill into my idea. I'll be able to look at the notifications that I have about different ideas that I'm submitting, and I'll be able to participate and interact with these. Now, if you happen to be the Chief Innovation Officer and you really want to go through and talk about challenges and strategies from an executive top-down point of view, here we can go through then and identify what are the business strategies like cost reduction, revenue, business efficiencies that we want to focus on. And if we pick any one of these challenges that we've submitted, we can create this challenge, message it out to the organization, share it with everybody and anybody so that they can come in and rate and rank these ideas. And in fact, if we go through and look at the ideas that have been submitted for this challenge, we can see down below there's a couple right here that we might want to go through and vote on. So we can go through and use the stars to triage and tell everybody what we think of Paul Mather's great idea, providing customer checkouts or bringing your dogs to work, whatever the ideas might be. And these are great examples of the submission of an idea to support a business challenge. Once we've collected those ideas, we need to decide what to do with them. And so sometimes the innovation consultants or strategy leaders will go through and say, let's take a look at where we're at with these and what we want to happen next. And really there's two approaches that we can take. You can simply walk things through an ideas Kanban, where we might want to progress an idea from under review into awarded or backlogged or however you want to do that. And notice I'm simply dragging and dropping these. Or I might want to go through and add new reviewers, so I can drag Chris down to this idea and drop Chris on there if he were a new reviewer. And then Chris would now be involved, he'd know what to do, and we can actively engage in moving these ideas from a cool notion to something that we've awarded to something that we actually want to go through and do. Additionally, for more mature organizations, they will want to go through and use a more formal ranking and scoring, or what we call triage, to go through and vote on ideas, to go through and figure out which are the best fit for our team and for our projects. So briefly on the screen here, we have the collection of ideas that are supporting this Reduce Customer Queues business challenge. They're here on the left-hand side. And I can go through and rank and score these by simply moving the sliders. And by moving those sliders, I can see what the impact might be on our particular project. This might be really easy to achieve, and we can go through and follow the blue lines to get the score on the right-hand side of 7.5. Now that's different than the crowd voting where we're using stars. Stars are great, terrific way to engage employees, but often we'll want to take that next step. And that's what Edison 365 Ideas is allowing you to do here. And in fact, it also allows you to look at what other reviewers have been thinking, who's rated them, what are their scores, and what actions are we ready to take? Do we have everybody's opinion that we need to move this forward? Either through an SLT, if you use that, some formal innovation board, or department by department. When you're ready to act, you can, of course, hit Create Project, and that will take the core metadata from this innovation or this idea and let you move that into the next stage. And whether you're doing it informally, using things like Microsoft Teams or Planner, or Microsoft Project, this allows you to move that data forward. So the last thing that we want to do when we go through and look at the type of innovations and things that we want to do for reports, we can simply call up Edison 365 Reports and begin to see how our employees are engaging. On the right-hand side, you can see some of our top contributors as I scroll through the panel, and we can see some of the ideas that they've submitted. I can click on theirs. I can drill down to that particular individual if I wanted to, or I could start to see what are the ideas that are helping us around cost reduction. And I can drill down, I can drill through. That becomes more interesting when we start to look at the ideas and the challenges directly. So that if I want to see how many are involved in revenue, I can see the ideas that we've got coming in. Whoop, a little concern, just one there. But we are indeed working on customer satisfaction, and we are working on cost reduction. So I can drill down and act on these ideas. When we use Power BI for reporting, this lets us interact and engage with the data, and it allows us to publish these online to a PDF, to print them out, to drop them directly to PowerPoint if you do monthly, quarterly, weekly briefings. So it's very powerful in letting you go through and look at how we're working with ideas, what the velocity of those things coming in is, what the type of ranking and scoring that we have for these employee ideas. I love this one down here, the old bring your pets to work idea. So that's good fun as we start to drill in on some of those particular ideas. So Edison 365 uses Microsoft Office 365 to help you go through and take advantage of the technology that you already have in place. So you have an engaging, interactive way of getting your employees to put in new ideas, to vote on their peers' notions or innovations, and help progress things forward. Whether that's SharePoint, whether that's the rest of Office or Power BI, you get to take advantage of those things built in. So before we wrap up, I want to put a couple of things back on the screen to help us think about some questions or some things around deployments, because again, it's super easy, rapid to get started inside your own Office 365 tenant. It is a cloud deployment, so there's little to do there. And of course, because it's online, there's really no maintenance per se. You have continuous innovation that we're able to bring to the product with constant improvements and adds for the Edison 365 family. We won't talk about change today. This is something to go back and focus on when you take a deeper dive, but we certainly want to help you follow the ADKAR ProSci methodology for building awareness, getting that desire for change, and help reinforcing this goodness with your employees. One of the things that people often ask us about is, can I have users vote on these ideas? And we've talked a little bit about it through the star rating. One of the things that we didn't show is that we also have the ability to collaborate and have threaded discussions before people vote. And that's important as well. One of the questions in the panel Q&A is asking me there. So let me quickly show you in the software how once we're in Edison 365 and we're looking at a particular idea, we have the ability to go through and see how others are collaborating on this, what they're thinking about this idea, how they're voting on these things. So if we drill down into the idea, thank you for the question on that, by the way. Can we go through and change the votes up here? Can we go through and discuss this with other people? What's the history? And we can see Chris and I have had a discussion. We can type in more here if we'd like to put in that threaded discussion and keep track of it. Or we can see the history of an idea. So this is a great way, again, to engage with your employees. So thank you for that question. Since we set 30 minutes for our limit today, let's go ahead and bring this to a close. We definitely want to help you unlock the creativity of your teams and of your employees. So if you'd like, go build a plan to get others involved. Try Edison 365 so you can engage your innovators. Take a deeper dive. We're happy to set up those for you. And in fact, doing a pilot or a trial of Edison 365 is a great way to get started. So at that point, you too can get deployed and you can begin to take advantage of and see the outcomes from employee engagement. With that, I'll thank you for your time today. We will be sending a follow-up email from today's session, which will include the content and a recording. If you have any questions prior to that, please feel free to reach out to me directly, tad.haas@edison365.com, and we look forward to continuing the conversation. Thank you and have a great day.